November? What in the world does that mean for the top metagame decks? Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Welcome to Centurion. Yes, I bet you cannot wait to not get the chance to play the game because Centurion just did the whole little calamity lock on you. Yeah, I know. I can't wait. Honestly, I think that this is a very spicy deck to kind of have adding into the equation for this meta. I think a lot of people are definitely going to have absolutely no idea whatsoever to do against this. There are also some really extremely easy choke points for this. Honestly, Centurion might end up kind of hitting into the more roguish category. We're going to have to wait and see. I think the early week one of this deck is going to detour a lot of people. So buckle up, buckaroo. I hope you're ready for level 12 synchros to go, no, you can't play the game. Yeah, trust me. You can open up the best against this deck, and then all of a sudden, one Crimson Dragon with no answer. It's all over. Dragon Link is our 9th best deck in the room. Is that right? Yeah, Dragon Link. So, I'm not going to lie, there are a lot of things that are going to be on the Rogue video that people are going to be like, that should have been in the top. Well, I got yelled at last time I didn't put Dragon Link in the top cut, so I gave in to peer pressure this time. So I moved it on up the list. It doesn't really feel like it's kind of sitting at the top tables anymore. It does very much feel like a Rogue deck at this point in time, but that doesn't really take anything away from the combo engines, the Boral incapacity. If you have no idea how to handle this deck's boards, you just go into a losing position. It's the same story that we've been tracking with this deck for so long. Unprepared duelists just catch themselves in the same trap, and they fall into despair. That was emo. Yeah. All right. Well, that's honestly the Dragon Link experience at this point in time. Also, the last list didn't necessarily help it out at all. Next up is Branded Chimera, the Fallen of Albaz variants. Regular Fallen of Albaz, I'm not really seeing any play anymore. I don't know if you noticed that. It's the Chimera builder bust at this point in time, which is actually kind of sad because pure Fallen of Albaz was kind of a cool deck, but here we are. But Chimera Runic and the Chimera branded builds are both two decks that will catch you off guard if you're not prepared. Also, the combo extension lines that we have seen the build be able to go through is actually kind of crazy. Also, the Mirror Jade Interruption is so 2021 at this point in time, but it is so stupid good still at this point in time. So, overall, yes, Chimera is still kind of remaining at the dinner table as one of the more solid metagame contenders. Anybody surprised about that? No. If anything, you should be more surprised that pure Fallen of Albaz has just fallen off the face of the map. Alright, it's actually really sad. Next up is Flander. And somebody's going to be like, no, Robbie, I still think Flander doesn't deserve to be here. If you learned anything out of last format, with this deck kind of sitting as one of the grindiest top metagame contenders in the room, you should have learned at this point in time that N-Pen is a stupid good card. Who needs the barrier statue when you can deploy N-Pen, stare your opponent straight in the eyes, and go, this game is mine. Alright. All real things considered, though, not really much has changed for Flander. Harpy's Featherstorm with the Thrust interactions. As long as Thrust is a card that exists, Flander will still be able to toggle through every piece of its arsenal. And that's just going to put your opponent into an even worse position as more and more of the games tend to go through time. So, something to definitely consider is just how good Flander still is. Also, Mega Ryza or Mega Ryza less. Depends on your card choices for what you want to do. Next up is Labyrinth. Arias. 1, 2 up. Nobody's playing 3 right now. We don't have transaction rollback. It's not that good. I think most Labyrinth duelists agree that 1 of seems to be probably the most optimized approach for the card just because being able to, turn 0, set the trap card that you want is going to be a big inconvenience for some people, but to be honest with you, It, not much has changed in terms of Labyrinth. If anything, I feel like the deck has gotten a little bit weaker, which is actually insane because Arius did come out, but a lot more people do know how to kind of play around Labyrinth shenanigans, as we're going to call it, which can put the deck into a pretty bad position in where it's trying to be. So, we don't have to deal with Eradicator anymore, but definitely something interesting. Yeah. Labyrinth is not as crazy as it once was. Next up is the Triff Special, Manade. Now, why am I putting Manade, kind of a little bit further down the list? I'll be straight up honest with you. It's cool. It definitely had the surprise factor going for it. But if duelists kind of figure out what to do, or we see more of the power traps or the power hand traps in the format kind of wrench this deck, then about your win percentage will probably go up. That's kind of the thing I've been noticing with this. It's not to take anything away from Manade. Combo lines can be insane, and it can definitely take home a victory. We've already seen that relatively easily with Triff's success with the deck. But kind of heading off into the distant past, into the next weekend, it didn't really find regional level success all that much. Actually, if anything, it kind of dropped off. So that's definitely one of the more interesting things I was kind of following with the Manade success train, was just for the regional level, it's not really doing well. Next up is Purely. Draw 4. Draw 6. Draw 4. Those are the combo lines. That's Purely in a nutshell. I agree with a lot of people with this deck. I do not like that having cats in the format is all that fair, but they draw cards. They set up a cat that you can't do anything about. Book of Moon has kind of fallen off into the void of the format, and honestly, because of that, you don't necessarily get the chance to have more outs to this, which means that they're free to go ahead and purely leap into the big cat, and then you're like, okay, I guess. That's honestly the cat in the hat experience. I don't want to take much away from the deck because it is incredibly strong, but it might not have the necessary tops to back it up. But the draw combo is so toxic that it actually hurts. Next up is Tier Elements. I'm still leaving Tier in the top 3 strictly because of the regional level right now. People will not let Tier Elements go at this point in time. Now, is Tier, the absolute toxic deck that it once was? Depends on the high roll. All right, honestly, going into the Tier match, you can have one of the easiest days of your life playing against Tier. Or you can get high rolled to the moon and have an incredibly bad time. It really just depends on how the opponent does. And I think that's a really scary thing. All right, if your opponent's RNG is just so against you, yeah, that's something that you got to worry about. I really do think that they need to check the millers. I think most of the community will agree with Kelbeck and Keldo. Or, yeah, needing to, maybe it's I don't remember. The millers, they need to go so that we can actually finally put Tier Elements down and we can finally move past this. But the TCG loves this deck. Next up is Unchained. I feel like we've kind of come full circle at this point. Unchained was by far the best deck of last format. We started to see the numbers for it disappear. We come back to the regional level this weekend, and you know what I'm starting to see on the regional level? Unchained is kind of starting to push the other decks back into a corner. Now, it's not to say that, best deck in the room doesn't have a chance against us. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that for what feels like this deck getting the chance to kind of push over the rest of the metagame competition, it feels actually insanely consistent still. And I honestly thought Unchained lost a lot of the things that made it feel like, one of the better decks in the room. So that's definitely something to consider out here when you're looking at a lot of the upcoming meta, is just what in the world is going on here. And of course, the best deck in the room is Rescue Ace. Yay! What version of the deck do you want to play? You want to play Jet Synchron? You want to play, Ricardo? You want to do the Warrior shenanigans? It is the consistent monster in the room. The Diabellstar package pushed this deck up through the roof. You can even play the pure build. And by pure build, I mean you can play the Diabellstar package without having to do, the sneaky little extra good stuff that you're getting with it. You don't have to do the DLC content. actually, if anything, you can just kind of cruise control the deck and do fine. So those are your top decks for the month. Hope you're ready for Centurion to be an absolute pain in the butt. Yu-Gi-Oh! Make sure you guys leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out.
Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.